See, under this weird ass thinking, when I got to thinking about how quiet and hush hush my family was, one of the family jokes was that my mom's mom, Esther Mays, and her sisters and brothers came up here and in the car changing their names. It was a family joke, right? And we would just talk about the names they picked out and the names they left. So then I started thinking about how long my grandma had been in Minnesota. I started to think about the year she was born. I started to think about Minnesota being created as slavery was ending, and it was a free state as well as a segregated state, that you could come here and bring your slaves at the time, as well as there was freed slaves here. So in theory, my state started off as a very racist state. So I got to thinking to myself, my family could have been brought here by a slave owner, specific to Barb Johnson, who could have had papers claiming she owned my family, where she had us in this group of people where she felt like we owed her. And I don't know what made me think of that other than the family talk about how they changed their names. And as a Democrat Party, they were Confederates who still owned slaves. And under the ideology of Britain and the separation, there was people here who still wanted to own their slaves. And I thought that's when they were assigned a social security number so that the government could keep tabs on them. And the government at that time, for me, was the states that they were fighting. So I went back to the creation of America, and then each war we went to, where again, we now had the opportunity to introduce people as well as drugs and other ways of life to the United States, which might have violated my rights to be safe and secure, not only from the white government, but now from the foreigners that they brought here that were now judging me as a black person. Under theory, they said that slaves were brought from parts of Africa where, again, we were said to not be able to conform, we were nasty, abusive, and that we couldn't be taught. So they was not wanting to free us. And then as they freed us, they said we didn't want to conform, and they was keeping us out of their areas and stuff. And then that's when the discrimination was brought about. Can I have a courtesy ride? I gotta get to class, please. Thank you, MCTC. They're gonna give me my bus fund, one day. But right now I ain't got it. With that being said, I said as we were now, dealing with slavery and stuff like that, it was a question based on, again, Honeywell and the equipment in my mouth, where they said they couldn't find the records. My sane mind said that was Barack Obama with the discontinuation of records, where he, as a senator with Bobby Joe Champion, created this illegal deal and then blackmailed certain white people in Congress in Washington. And then Keith and Barack did this illegal deal. And I thought that deal was under education. And under education, I was overeducated. And because I was overeducated, my way of life and thinking was different based on the upbringing from these people who I thought may or may not have been slaves. Where, again, their names was changed in the car. And in theory, Don Samuels, drugs, right? I said that in theory, if you didn't want my mom to get a job, if you didn't want my mom to be educated, you were part of the Confederates who said that she could learn and that you didn't want her to look good, so you beat her down and made her sell drugs. In theory, the Scholastica books taught me that the Confederates were the Republicans, and they brought drugs, prostitution, as well as the KKK to my state, which I mocked to be the Black Lives Matter.